members. We are very excited to continue our Ignite series. Today we have Brady Pittman from the Orlando Market Center. She's a productivity coach and will be guiding us through Blast Off. That's a section from Ignite. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to you, Brady.
Thank you. Hey everyone, like Ozzy said, I am the productivity coach for the Market Center here in Orlando. So my approach to Ignite is a little bit different, and I kind of got involved in teaching Ignite when I first started in the office about 2 years ago. I began as the agent services coordinator, and we really didn't have anybody powerful delivering Ignite to the level that I needed to be. So I kind of was voluntold to be put into that role, and really kind of grasped it as my own. And with the help of some of our staff members, we've been able to develop a really powerful, kind of like a master faculty within the office to teach different sessions. So we do have an Ignite director, and I teach a few of the sessions in there. But as a coach, it's really important that I get into that Ignite session to get to know our agents at a little bit of a higher level before they begin coaching with me. So I kind of want to go over how to deliver it's the very last session of Ignite first and foremost. So I want to go over how to deliver that at a really high level and make sure that it's impactful, and the agents are walking away with a written business plan and an accountability tool to really help them launch their careers. So in this session, there is the same beginning that every single session has, and the Ignite director goes through that. So that takes about 30 minutes, and I let him deliver that, and I actually am not involved in that process. And then I kind of walk in around the expectations page. I'll come in and kind of go over what my expectations are from the class, and that's really, really important when delivering any kind of course. You do need to set the expectations of what you're looking for out of the class and how to make this a really great class for them to walk away with a plan. So moving into that, we actually, for the lead generation piece, we don't skip it completely, but we don't spend as much time in the lead generation because it usually takes a little bit less time for them to get all the leads that they're used to getting because they've been doing it week after week after week. So we usually spend about 10 to 15 minutes in the lead generation and really focus on getting to know our numbers and why that's important and walking away with the business plan. So in this Ignite session, one of the first couple exercises is to watch a video with Linda McKissick, and I think that that's a really important video to make sure you definitely put into your Ignite Blast-Off session, because she gives the day in the life of a mega agent. And it's from someone that built a really big business that was really successful. And so it's not, again, the Ignite faculty telling the agents, well, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. This is from somebody big in KWRI, reiterating the message we've been delivering the past couple weeks. So I have them take some serious notes along with that, and we talk about the ahas, and that's probably another really important part, is you do want to make sure you set that expectation before any activity or before reading anything that you're going to be asking for some ahas, and that it's going to be participatory. Moving through Ignite a little bit, I kind of, we walk through a lot of the exercises, and especially in the make it happen part, because that's based off of action. And taking action is the most important thing when we put a plan together. We need to know why it's important, and we also need to make sure that we do implement action. So walking into making it happen, it really just talks about how to time block properly, why you time block to get focus, how accountability ties into that. It talks about how you make sure your environment supports your focus and how you keep your energy up. And all of that kind of is pulled from the MREA book. So as a coach, I've been very purposeful in making sure that I study the MREA book on a daily basis, and that's really where my expertise comes in, because I just pull straight from the book that tells us how to do it. So we walked through the MREA energy plan and how to time block your day before 11 a.m. to make sure you're going to have a really productive morning, because we're the most fresh in the morning. So kind of moving through it after making it happen and talking about the importance of a plan and accountability behind the plan is where we get to move into where I kind of stray away from the material and add some additional material in there. So if you guys have ever heard of a 135 or a GPS, but basically the 135/GPS stands for 1 goal, 3 priorities, and 5 strategies to achieve each priority. So looking at the GPS plan, there's three priorities to achieving any business goal in the real estate industry, and that's really looking at buyers, sellers, and who do I need to know and what do I need to know to make sure that I'm going to accomplish my goals. So that kind of gets back to that education piece. And so I have them start with the 135, and that's really their written business plan for the rest of the year. So the 1 goal always gets back to units, what their total volume is, and what their GCI is going to be. Moving into our priorities, we talk about, so our first priority would be a buyer, or buyers or sellers, whichever you feel goes first. And we break that priority down into what percentage of your business is going to come specifically from buyers. So let's just say we say 50-50 will be buyers and sellers. So if my goal is to sell 50 units, then that means 25 units will be from buyers. And then we also break that further down into how many agreements that needs to be taken in order to achieve that goal. So basically, in this first priority strategy, it would say something like, we will close 25 units by taking 50 agreements. And then moving into the strategies, we focus on the 5 specific strategies for them to accomplish that units goal. So if their units goal is 25, and that kind of gets back to the lead generation piece. So how are we going to lead generate to get those 25 units just from buyers? So I basically set them up with 4 lead generation sources that are kind of a non-negotiable for anybody brand new into the industry. The first one being your Sphere, your database. We do open houses. We incorporate sign calls from your listings. And then we do a little bit more marketing and internet leads. And then they get to be creative and choose their 5th strategy to achieving that priority goal. And then we just basically do the same thing for the sellers. So the first priority is buyers, second priority is sellers. Again, if 50% of their goal, or 50% of their unit goal is going to be with sellers, and that's another 25 units by taking 50 listings. The non-priorities or the non-negotiables for me when working with sellers, again, is your Sphere, again is open houses because we circle prospect. We do prospecting, so actually actively seeking business through phone calls or whatever that might look like. Home valuation leads, and then the 5th one is what they choose. So again, they get to get a little bit creative, but it's kind of just, here's the standard, how are you going to implement this? So those are the main 2 priorities, and they're filling this out together. I'm writing it on the whiteboard, making sure that they understand kind of walking through that, what that looks like. And when we complete those 2 strategies, those 2 priorities, I have them go back through and see how many units do they believe that they can actually close from each one of those strategies. And if any of you have been to a Ben Kenny event, he does the same thing with this team. And I thought this was a really great idea because they usually blow their original goal out of the water. So from Sphere, with buyers, they typically are like, oh, I think I could close like 5 units just from buyers and 5 units from sellers. And then open houses might be like, oh, I could close 2 or 3, and so on and so forth. And at the end, their unit goal is typically a lot more than the original goal they set. So it's kind of another aha process. They're having a breakthrough that the only thing that's limiting them is their own beliefs. And if they actually just focus on 4 or 5 strategies, then they would actually be able to exceed their goals. Um, and then our third priority just comes back down to education. So what are the Market Center events they're going to be attending? What are the national and regional events they're going to be attending? What are they reading? Who are they surrounding themselves with? Who do they need to hire? And just kind of walking through those strategies. So we kind of mastermind around that and get a little bit more specific for each person. So the other two priorities are very much set in stone, like this is what it's going to be. And the third priority is where they get to get a little bit more creative in their own education. So I think that the GPS or 135, whatever you're used to calling it, is really important to do before you actually create a 411. And the 411 is just an accountability tool as well, but the GPS is the business plan. So in my brain, I think you have to have a business plan before you can have an accountability tool to holding you accountable to your plan. So that kind of leads me into what the 411 looks like and the exercise there. So I literally walk through the exercise and I pass out these documents, and they're all accessible in KWU Connect, so you can download all of these. And I just walk through the 411 with them off of one strategy. So I might say, okay, this is how we're going to implement this into your 411, and then I kind of leave the rest for homework. So I walk through the session and the pages that are over the 411 tool and talk about why it's important and kind of what it means. But for the most part, I leave the rest of that for homework because I just had them write a business plan. And then as a coach, that's what we spend a little bit more time on when we sit down one-on-one when they're finished with Ignite. So we kind of wrap that up, and at this point in time, we're about 2 hours deep in the class. So the 135 takes me about 30 to 45 minutes to walk through. And then I spend about 15 minutes walking through the 411 again because I leave a good chunk of that as homework. I just use one priority as an example. Then it kind of leads into revisiting your goals. And revisiting your goals, I forgot to say this, but I do that before I do the 135, so I kind of go out of order of the chapter. I have them revisit their goals first so that we can actually implement it in their business plan. So revisiting your goals is just basically looking at how much money you want to make this year, what your average sales price is, and then doing all the calculations to see how many appointments you need to go on every week to hit your goal. So I have them do that first and then actually plug them that into their 135. And once I've kind of completed the revisiting of the goals, the 135 and the 411, we move into evaluating their wins and opportunities. And this is a huge exercise to do with your Ignite students because it really allows them to self-reflect and kind of dig a little bit deeper and see, have I experienced, what are the wins I've experienced, what are the opportunities for improvement, what kind of leads are we getting. So, for example, this last session I had a guy who has been on 7 appointments during Ignite, which is awesome, and hasn't written one agreement. And so when we talk about what kind of leads you're getting, what's the quality look like? And then we kind of dig a little bit deeper in that conversation and we ask, where are you getting those leads from? And he shared with us that it was from his past, one of his past jobs, and the average person doesn't make, any kind of good income, and if they do, they usually spend a lot of it because it's a sales position and they're not teaching them how to run, an effective business. So his leads were not that quality and not ready to buy anytime soon. So we got to mastermind around how he can improve the quality of his leads. The fourth question on this evaluation is, as CEO of you, rate your performance using a scale of 1 to 5. 1 equals improvement needed and 5 equals excellent, no improvement needed. I have never had a person rank themselves above a 4. So that question in itself allows them to really self-discover how much, they really need to improve and continue to educate themselves and plug back into the Market Center training and coaching and all the resources your office will provide. And then it allows them the ability to kind of come up with a plan on what they're going to do to move forward. So, okay, great, I have all these improvements I need to make. What's the plan behind that? So it does allow the opportunity to have a plan to keep improving and move forward. We then move into kind of knowing your numbers and all that good stuff, what the importance is behind that, and how to calculate conversion rates. You'd be surprised how many people really don't know how to do simple math. And you know, we typically use a pretty big producer, and we'll have them walk in the room and just say, you know, how many appointments did you go on this week? What are your goals of your business? Are you on track? You know, where's your business coming from? To just allow them to see that even though this guy might do $50 million a year with his team, they still know exactly where they're at today and how much, what they need to do to hit their goals this year. So again, it's using other people's examples, especially if you are a coach or have never really sold real estate before. That's a huge opportunity to use someone else's story to kind of validate what you're teaching. And that's the other piece. As a coach, you know, I started at this office as the agent services coordinator, moved into the assistant team leader role, and really never sold a piece of real estate in my entire career. So I have tons of sales experience in other industries, but never have sold a house in my life. So that piece is, you know, validating my whatever I'm teaching, and it really allows people to trust me that if the top producer is sharing stories with me, then I must be a trustworthy person as their coach. So that's really important as well. And then we just kind of move through what their action plan looks like after Ignite, and that's huge because a lot of people are like, okay, great, I had this awesome training, now what? What do I do? So we talk about how they're going to continue doing the daily 10-4, how they're going to continue to plug into scripts practice, how many appointments they're going on every week, how many people they're touching in their database or adding to their database, how often they're updating their 411 and all that kind of stuff. So they actually walk away with a written business plan and an action plan to make sure that they're going to hit their goals. And at the very, very end of the class, if there's time, so a lot of times I don't have the opportunity to do this, but if I move swiftly through it, we'll do a script off. And the script off is just saying, this is the script, who's got it? And they just kind of compete with each other. Oftentimes vendors send me gift cards all the time, so I will give it away, you know, the $10 Starbucks gift card to the winner in the session. Talk about, you know, why scripts are important, why you need to plug back into scripts, everything like that. So, and again, that's kind of an optional activity if I have time. And then we just really focus on their ahas from the session. And this one I get a lot of ahas from. So again, I teach multiple sessions of Ignite. And, you know, this is a written business plan. This is huge. So people just, a lot of times they've never written a business plan before. And, you know, walking through those ahas is really important for the entire class. And the thing that I really like about the new Ignite is they have pages in every single session that says from ahas to achievement. So it allows them to take their ahas and put it into action to achieve their goals. So, you know, they write out their ahas. They talk about how they're going to take their ahas and how will they translate it into changes that you're going to have in your behavior. So if it's, you know, I went on 7 appointments and I didn't get 1 agreement, well, I need to practice my scripts to qualify the buyers before I sit down with them in person and, you know, really waste a lot of time. What tools do they need to have to change their behavior? And then what's the accountability piece? And then the very last question is achievement. So what are the results going to be if we actually do this plan? So I think that that's really powerful in this new Ignite session, and it's really important to walk through that activity at the end of Ignite, because they've had a whole, you know, fire hose of information thrown at them throughout this whole session, and as the last course, this is pretty huge. And then we just kind of reiterate how Ignite is not a one-time thing, and you kind of take Ignite over and over and over again until you're making too much money. We have some statistics to back that up with some agents that have plugged back into Ignite multiple times. So it's, your job is that last person that they're getting in touch with to make sure that you reiterate that point that this isn't the last time they're going to see the Ignite course and that they're going to have to plug into it a couple more times. And that's kind of the structure that I've gone off of for Ignite. So, the most useful resource for me during the session, again, is bringing that 135 tool back into the Ignite session, because if you don't have a written business plan, then there's going to be no accountability around that, because you don't actually have a plan to be accountable to. So you have to start in the very baby step of writing that 135, and that would probably be the most important thing, and just making sure that you really, I think the most important thing to know, the one thing you should know as a teacher of this Blast-Off session is, the last thing of this Ignite session, or the one thing that you should know is you have to have mastery of the MREA economic model to be successful teaching someone how to set up their business plan and their goals, because it all boils down to what's my GCI, how much money do I want to make, and how does that translate into this 135. So just having that mastery of the economic model will definitely allow you to be very purposeful and deliver a powerful Ignite session. So that's kind of it for me, Ozzy.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brady. We have a few questions here.
Okay.
What would you say to someone who had a 411 or 135 but later lost their sight of vision? How can you help get them back on track?
I would just have them bring back wherever they left off on. So if they had one that they had written previously and their 135, they call that Gary Keller refers to it as like the 15th hour or something like that. And basically, around the middle of the month, you should know if you're on track to hit your goals or not. And so you just kind of have that re-evaluation session. So if it's halfway through, you've gone 3 months since you've done this session and you really haven't taken action on your goals or your strategies or anything like that, your priorities, we need to reevaluate your goals and see if maybe they are too big. And if they're too big, what's the bare minimum that you need to make this year to make sure that this is worth it to you? So I always set the stretch goal, and that's why I kind of walk through each one of those strategies and make sure that there's a number attached where they think they could get that, because it does stretch their goals. But we really have to have that kind of a fierce conversation around it. And if they're not willing to do the actions, then are they really going to be successful in this business? And if they are willing to do the actions, then it's going to be more of a weekly check-in basis with you as that accountability partner. So, you have them set up the accountability, how they want to be held accountable, and say, okay, how and when would you like me to contact you to make sure that you've hit this goal or you've done this activity? Because we can only control the activities. We can't really control the results because there's lead and lag measures. So these activities are the lead measures that provide the results, which are our lag measures. And there's nothing we can do at any point in time. So if I had a goal of losing 20 pounds in the next 6 months, and 6 months passes and I haven't done anything according to my plan, there's nothing I can do at that point in time to affect my weight loss. And if I had done my plan, then that scale would probably tell me that I lost 20 pounds. So it's really getting back into the activities and making sure that they are willing to be accountable to the activities. And if they're not, then maybe it's really, you might have to kind of have that conversation of walking them out of the business.
That was perfect. Thank you so much for clarifying that. We
Yeah.
received one last question, and it was, when you have a new agent coming to your market center, what's the number one tip you can give them in planning their 411 or 135? Because they're new and they're not familiar with this. What's the number one tip you could give them?
Um, just plugging lead generation in everywhere, into their calendar wherever it fits. And even if they don't have an appointment or they don't have a contract to write or anything like that during the day, the only thing that they do in their day is lead generate, and just reiterate the importance of, how lead generation really provides them a sustainable business. And that lead generation piece really allows them to have that predictable business as well, so that there is no roller coaster effect in their income. So that would probably be the most important thing. As a brand new agent, what I tell my clients especially is you got to lead generate. There's nothing that replaces or skips lead generation or trumps lead generation.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Brady. We're very glad that you were able to spend the afternoon with us. And if anybody has any follow-up questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me or Brady, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have. Thank you so much, and bye, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.